Crazy new developments are happening right around Zul'aman. Right now, factions are splitting all over the place, and Xala'atath has already abandoned the former Twilight's hammer. 12.1 is going to be the Amani patch, very likely based around Zul'aman and Atal'utek, the Isle, but right now, these Twilight guys showed up here with shovels, talking about how their masters will find it. At the same time, by the lore, a former Katraxi general was once defeated by Tyr, then awakened by Xala'atath and trolls, and after a giant troll war, he was buried right here under Zul'aman. We discovered new N'Zoth's model, more old god hints, and now these guys are up here with shovels digging up and talking about masters, plural. What is going on, and are the old gods finally making a comeback? If you think classic, especially hardcore, there is the perfect survival guide with rested XP. It gives you the safest routes, hostile enemy warnings, and now even with TBC hardcore it will be 100% optimized for straight survival, amongst getting the absolute best, most optimal routes and information. Furthermore, rested XP offers midnight guides too, but best of all, if you use my link below, you will get 10% off your order immediately. So check out rested XP. So by this point, we've all known that Zul'aman and Atal'utek is going to be a big patch. I mean, we figured out this island like half a year ago, and at first we thought this might be a minor patch thing, but seeing that 12.1 is going to come to PTR any day now, it is certain that it will be all about the Amani and the new island that we actually have more information about right now. So far, I've talked about this a few times in the past. Recently I covered the potential Burning Legion hints we have, but recently we also learned what is kind of going on around Atal'utek. Apparently, these temples were built in order to commemorate the Amani victory over Katraxi. At this point, it kind of feels like old school lore, even though a while back it completely changed the previous lore because this is Chronicle the first edition. But Katraxi, together with Xal'atath, were powerful Katraxi generals of the old gods. There's multiple of these Katraxi, but these two are the most notable one, as one founded Ajakir and was essentially responsible for the Trollakir War, a giant war all over Azeroth. And that is exactly this guy, Katraxi. While the Black Empire was around, these guys were about second in power, only the old gods were stronger, and then the Titans defeated them, they sealed them away underground. Now, after Tyr and his allies fled northern, Loken, the Titan Keeper, dug up these two guys and sent them to hunt Tyr. Now, they fought this giant epic duel with Tyr, and Tyr sacrificed himself and defeated Xal'atath, but nearly defeated Katraxi. He actually survived. He survived and fled southwest before collapsing at the base of the Zandalar Mountains. Keep in mind, at this time in history, the continent was just one large thing back in the day. Now, the dagger Xal'atath led this one troll to uncover what he thought was like this forbidden law, but instead he just roused him back into life and then started the massive Troll-Akir War, which is essentially like a defining moment. Now, keep in mind, this war happened 16,000 years ago, so 6,000 years before the Sundering, and it was like a worldwide conflict. This is what split the trolls ultimately, and it lasted centuries. After a loss, wounded Katraxi fled north, and it was the Amani tribe that tracked his trail, and in the final battle, these guys literally launched a giant suicidal attack to defeat him. Only a tiny fraction of the Amani survived, but ultimately he was defeated. Atop the side where he was defeated, the trolls established a settlement that eventually turned into Zul'aman. So with this quick lore lesson, you can see how this guy is probably the most relevant figure currently in the game at this point in time around this patch, and he's almost certainly going to return potentially as like this 12.1 boss. The big thing to keep in mind is that old gods in general, but at the same time old god minions, don't really die in the way mortals do. This guy was literally defeated multiple times during the Black Empire by the Titans, then by Tyr once, and then once again by the Trolls, but he was dormant for like 16,000 years. Now, Xal'atath, the one that awakened him last time, is trying to take over the world, and her cultists are literally digging something big around Zul'aman. So let's take a look at this new evidence because it does seem incredibly interesting. In the new patch, we discovered these brand new ethereals that are like a faction of their own and very dangerous, and we also discovered the Twilight's blade, and right now it isn't certain what the full storyline is, what is fully happening, like we gotta get the whole picture. The Twilight's blade is actually like the rebuilt remnants of the Twilight's hammer, and as you may know, they recently did some recruiting, but what we figured out recently was that they were actually abandoned by Xal'atath and were split into a few new factions. I covered one of these factions as they took over Deadholm, the Scourge camp in Qual'Talas, and they started mixing void void magic and scourge and turning into liches, which is very interesting story development for the future of the saga, but it appears this other bit was also abandoned in Zul'aman, and they seem to have turned to their original purpose, and that is the Old Gods. You may remember that the Twilight's hammer was essentially Old God worshippers until they turned to Xal'atath. What we discovered here is that they're literally in Zul'aman and they're digging something up. I mean, we discovered discarded excavation tools, and they say that the sigil of the Twilight's blade can be seen on the tool's handle, and we also see that they made some sort of a transaction with materials for some weapons. What they also say when we defeat them is, our masters will find. I mean, it's not exactly a confirmation, but it's like this bingo card. I mean, we got Old God servants above the place where a Katraxi general was buried with empowered weapons and digging tools, and they're saying our masters will find. I don't know about you, but to me this really screams Old God involvement, especially as they say masters and not master. Furthermore, as you know, we also data mined a void version of Xal'atath's model, which will be relevant in this expansion. Additionally, by the way the story is going, we know Xal'atath used the ley lines from the Sunwell to send her void army through the corrupted Darkwell into the core of the world. This was confirmed, which is likely the big battle that will happen before the last Titan. I mean, they literally told us the real invasion is about to begin. Here, this brings us to the Old Gods and their involvement. You know, Old Gods and Xal'atath have a really long and very confusing history. Like, we knew N'Zoth was doing something in Alota, which got Xal'atath to attack. We've learned that Xal'atath was an independent void entity for a while since she betrayed Dimensius, and we've also discovered that the Old Gods imprisoned her within the blade, and she made a pact with N'Zoth to free her. Now, we get to the return of Ashara foreshadowed, who was a servant of N'Zoth, and a whole bunch of other Old God hints suspiciously happening at the same time. Now, Blizzard did say previously that Midnight is not about the Old Gods, but it's already going towards the fact that this will happen at the end of Midnight, and I don't think it is over yet with the Old Gods. Now, last time this kitty guy was dug up was like we had centuries worth of war that took the combined Troll Empire to defeat. I think right now we are a lot more powerful and advanced, but still, I don't think awakening this guy is like the ultimate goal. It's probably just one part of the puzzle, and these Twilight's Blade guys seem to want to do it, and it's probably like some bigger Old God picture. At the same time, the whole thing is really confusing because we have Atal'utek, which we know is a shrine dedicated to his defeat, but we have these green rivers that are surprisingly looking like fell magic, and also we had a few more Burning Legion hints, which could imply that the Burning Legion could be in on this, and like the demons. I mean, right now in the World Soul Saga, it's essentially like this one giant battle of all the cosmological forces that are just closing in on Azeroth. We even got Shadowlands and the Denetrius hints recently, so why wouldn't the demons and the Legion get back as well, especially since we had that failed Burning Legion invasion as a prequel to Midnight, which means they're still around Azeroth and they're still planning to do something. But it does get a bit confusing now as we got these Twilight cultists potentially now doing the Old Gods bidding as well. I mean, at the same time, like with the Denetrius plotting and the Legion and Xal'atath and the Titans coming, looks like it's really going to get absolutely crazy any moment now, and I think the pace is really going to start picking up once we're done with 12.1, and especially once we get to September and the last Titan BlizzCon reveal. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on Ashara actually returning by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my brand new Witcher lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.